Hold on to your butts.
We are changing the course of history as we see it. That is what Western demands.
Now, this affects Iris. Iris, where are you?
What you feel only matters to you.
I do not entertain hypotheticals. The world as it is vexing enough.
Iris, I have a tip for you.
Don't take drugs!
Or whatever movies with Wesley and Iris.
What up, and welcome to Or Whatever Movies. I'm your co-host, Iris, and I'm here with my older brother,
Woosley.
Today we're talking a movie from 2025, Bugonia.
Bugonia. Could it also be Bug-Anya?
It could be Bug-Anya. Yep, like a bee.
Yep. Ready for your proke?
Like your aunt, and I've got a proke.
Go.
Is it prejudicial to not believe Teddy? Are we prejudiced? Were we racist by not believing him for the entire movie?
No, I don't think it's racist that we didn't believe him. I think it's rational that we didn't believe him.
Because Teddy, signals unreliability? A lack of sophistication? Why? Why are we not supposed to believe Teddy?
We're not supposed to believe Teddy not because his ideas aren't ultimately sound, but because it falls in with the conspiracy theorist stuff that we're accustomed to. I wrote down that I fear the person who starts out on Donnie and Teddy's side. They're the people to whom this movie preaches. I always come back to American History X, who don't see it as a morality tale, but are just like, oh, that Nazi movie was dope, you know? So the people who start out like, oh, Donnie and Teddy are my people. Those people I'm afraid of. But it wasn't just his far-flung theories, because he substantiates it, he speaks eloquently, he references his research or whatever, and that's meant to fall in line with the people who believe that they're experts on a subject because they did Google research, you know? It was more his additional choices that were wrong. The chemical castration that he subjects his kind of unwilling cousin to. And there were a few other ideas that were like, oh, we're meant to not be on his side because these ideas have been proven to be so false.
In the end, didn't he prove that the chemical castration was necessary?
I suppose he did, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. He tried so hard and he got so far. But what does it matter if everybody dies and what are we Andromedans are staring down from their chunky knit comforters, you know, kind of shaking their heads at us.
I do like a good wearable blanket. This recalls to mind one of Emma Stone's other performances where she's marking the dashes on the toilet paper roll, and the entire toilet paper roll is supposed to represent what?
What?
You don't remember this?
What are you talking about?
From Academy Award-winning Best Picture Birdman, when the Emma Stone character is trying to gain perspective by marking dashes on a toilet paper roll.
Yeah, I saw that movie one time. Kind of forgot she was in it.
And the toilet paper roll in its entirety represents the history of the planet Earth, and the time that's actually represented by humans occupying Earth is like 1 or 2 squares, like not even enough to wipe your butt on. And that's supposed to put our place in time and space into perspective.
Man, like Begonia's ultimate themes, that's deep, bruh. It wasn't that I disagreed with Teddy and Donnie because they were white. It was more like, I'm not going to go with them because fucking Todd. Like, I'm not going to side automatically with Todd.
With Toddy?
Yep, Toddy. And then there's the problem in that I was calling them Toddy and Dummy. But
Toddy and Dummy? Wow.
Yeah. But the gentleman is actually autistic.
Don, you mean the actor Aidan Delbus?
Yes. So you can't, they're decided choices. And I would say Yorgos Lantimos and the writer did not paint him in the most favorable light. He wasn't the hero of the Peanut Butter Falcon, but he definitely did dumb things, but he's not really accountable. Should not have been handed a shotgun. So we have to be all kinds of delicate and dancy with this one.
So not only is his character portrayed as developmentally disabled, but he is indeed himself a person with a spectrum disorder.
Yep.
And also I think character-wise, it's clear that he's motivated by love. His last words are, tell Teddy I love him and I'm sorry. And in that sense, his intentions are pure and believable. And really, he is our stand-in. He's our stand-in. The character we as an audience, I think, I related to more than anyone else in this film. So I guess what does that say about the position that the filmmakers want to put the audience in?
I'm not sure, because the position they put us in was weird. I mean, that goes without saying, a Yorgos Lantimos film, but why did Donnie shoot himself? I kind of saw him as Lockjaw in a way, one battle after another. He got everything he wanted. He got the alien, maybe, to agree to take him. I will absolutely do that, Donnie. I will absolutely take you with me. And he's like, yay. Or if she's not an alien, she was convincing him to surrender his cousin and surrender to authorities without hurting her. And then things will go differently for you, Donnie. And he was like, yay. And I was like, dude, that guy is in a win-win scenario. And then he decided to change it up and wasn't.
So you didn't believe that Don, the character, didn't believe that he had another option. He was sufficiently rock in a hard place for me in that either way he would disappoint Teddy. If he turned Teddy over, if he failed at his duty to keep her imprisoned, then he was going to fail her. And either way he was going to fail Teddy, which put him in a lose-lose situation where he felt like he had no other choice.
That's a position that I wasn't in his shoes, so I didn't come to that conclusion myself. I was like, oh, he could have had what he wanted. Maybe she was lying to him. Probably she was lying to him. But I definitely didn't identify with Donnie above anyone else. Kelly seemed to come in pretty loaded that CEOs are bad, okay? And corporate greed is bad. And she's, probably a billionaire or something close to it. And that makes her, as he said, as Teddy said, even if she's not an alien, she's still what is it? The ultimate evil, pure evil, corporate evil.
This seems to be a theme for Ari Aster.
Who was involved in this movie.
Well, is a producer and also is the director of
Eddington.
Our discussion for which is available at orwhatevermovies.com or wherever you get podcasts. So not surprising there.
So Emma Stone's, what was her name?
Michelle?
Well, that's her human name.
I'm sorry, I don't speak Andromedan, but yes.
She was bitchy, but she was Bee Gees bitchy.
Bee Gees?
Yeah, remember we talked in How to Mend a Broken Heart, our discussion of which is available at orwhatevermovies.com or wherever you get podcasts. I mentioned that I knew someone who had worked with the Bee Gees on a previous documentary or a documentary series, and she said the Bee Gees were nice, but they were celebrity nice. They were polite and kind and everything, but if someone tried to make them do something against their will as celebrities, then they would get stern and they would be in control. They would exercise their power. I don't think that Emma Stone's character was unreasonable as presented as presumably a human. How do you wrangle a passel of uncertain worker bees, as everyone kind of looked hapless at her company, and indeed at the end everyone was really ineffectual at helping her.
Oof.
In any way.
God. What were they waiting for? What were they doing?
It takes a certain kind of person, I believe, to be a CEO for a major corporation. To run things, you kind of have to be a hard ass. You have to be clear, concise, look people in the eyes, tell them when they're doing the wrong thing so they will cease to do the wrong thing and to do the right thing before they get too far down the line. You can't be as nice, as empathetic if you're going to be the person in charge of everything for a group of relative idiots. She was right. There are politicized optics added into this discussion because she's a woman, and everything she was saying was stern, but Michelle definitely stepped over the line. I'm speaking of her as a human, but she was definitely a shit starter, a button pusher, and didn't know when to stop for her own good.
Are you talking about in her interactions with Teddy and Don?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that for the most part she wasn't unreasonable.
It did seem all in character. It's not like I believed that her character wouldn't break down into groveling and begging Like, it was in her character to try and reason her way out of this and to use confidence in her wit and her experience and her access to try and convince these kidnappers to let her go, to try and psychologically convince them that it was the right thing to do. There could have been maybe a little bit more vulnerability if maybe the Michelle character was human, but she wasn't. Which leads me to my main question about Begonia. At what point did you realize that she was an alien?
It's a little bit like Kelly Ray's question of how many times did you flip-flop on your assessment of her? I went back and forth. I think I decided 3 times. She's obviously human. Oh, she might be an alien. No, she's human. Okay, she's an alien. Like that. So I guess that's, 3 or 4 times? But I could not tell from the way this movie was constructed if the clues, as I perceived them, based on my cultural interpretation or my perception of the filmmaker's intentions, I guess, I cannot tell if they gave us clues. Certainly some clues. I wasn't sure if he knew what he was talking about. When Teddy said the voltage was off the charts, there's no way, not only is she human, but also she's not even a basic bitch Celestitron or whatever. What was it?
Andromedan?
Yeah, but even still, I was like, he's doing it wrong or he's not reading the readings, because otherwise we should have been, it could have been absolutely true. If we had believed that the voltage was as he had said, there was no way she could have survived it as a human, and let alone come out of it with a bloody mouth and letting her eyes clear. I was like, is she going to be permanently brain damaged? Oh, no, She seems like she's on her feet. That should have been a clue. And the other glaring clue is that it's Yorgos Lantimos. It has to get crazy, and we have to have weird biological spaceships, and we have to have black and white transitions that are crazy. I came to understand, I came to believe that Yorgos Lantimos constructed this movie backwards. I think that he was doodling or whatever and came up with this weird spaceship that looked like a squid. And they were like, Yorgos, what are you doing? And he's like, it's a spaceship. It's aliens. And they were like, well, but you can't just make it weird right out of the gate. Maybe it's like aliens pretending to be humans. And he's like, okay, I will do that. I don't know how, but I will do it. You know what I mean? Like, he's so weird that it had to go that way for a Yorgos Lantimos film.
There was a point where there was no other choice for her to be other than an alien.
We came to that point in the movie when she gets out of the ambulance or whatever, but way before that, at the beginning, Kelly said, do you think she's human? And I was like, yeah, obviously. Well, no, I think she's an alien. She has to be because it's Yorgos Lantimos.
It was pretty early, and I asked Brian if he remembered at what point in the movie I said, she's an alien. But you're right, maybe I wasn't fully convinced, and I'm looking for all the tells in both of them from that point on to know. But it was pretty clear to me that was an option really early. And then at a certain point in the movie, I realized structurally there just really wasn't another option or another way for this to go. But by the time they get to the office, I was pretty sure. So it was really confusing to me about the closet. Because what happened in the closet?
So it wasn't accidental. She pressed the button which detonated his vest. So it seems like, remember she said, we have to go in one at a time? And I was like, wow, she is brilliant. She is on top of it. She convinced her kidnapper to get into the closet because it's a transporter. She turned him around so thoroughly and she played into his game. This is why she's a CEO. She's a genius. But she obviously backed away and probably knew that there was no way, because it was going to rearrange him molecularly or break him down, there was no way it wasn't going to trigger the bomb. So she was punching in a legitimate code. It was a transporter. She backed away and hit the button, which immediately detonated him. And she would have jumped in and beamed up, if not for the fact that his head somehow left the doors, bonked her on the head, rendering her unconscious. And so she woke up in the ambulance.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Life is hard, but finding a really great podcast makes the days go by so much easier. Hi, my name is Blue Telusma. I'm a writer, an emotional intelligence coach, and the host of Humanize with Blue Telusma, a podcast where we believe that when you humanize everyone in the room, a great conversation is almost guaranteed. Join us every week here on Electricast as me and my guest co-hosts unpack big topics and interview even bigger personalities with a sense of humor and a dash of mischief. If you're looking for a new best friend in your head, we've got you covered. Electricast.
So, in other words, and I agree, she was going to send him to the ship.
No.
Because she had no way of knowing that he had a bomb strapped to him. He revealed that to her at the last minute.
I think she was planning something or other. But in my opinion, once he demonstrated that he showed her that he had the homemade bomb. And she was like, oh, okay, you're right. That is smart. That is smart. And then directed him to the teleporter, which was otherwise an innocuous cabinet in the corner of the room.
What would her plan have been otherwise?
I'm not sure.
If not to send him to the ship. She had brought him to the office. Was she intending for him to be apprehended by her office staff, her inept office staff?
The same as the human plan. What was going to be, I assumed, was her plan as a human. I thought she was going to get his dumb ass to get into the cabinet, close the door, and then she was going to put a broom handle between the handles, and then run out the door or smash through the glass. A broom handle
from her broom closet in her CEO office?
Whatever. Put something in the doors. She's resourceful. She could do something. But when she backed away, I was like, no, you got to block the door. Because you're assuming that by the time you count to 3 and he realizes it's a ruse, he's going to kick open the door. And you're only going to be 20 feet ahead of him. Is that going to work? Because she passed what's-his-name in the lobby. And I was like, that guard has a gun. He's a security guard for a reason. And as soon as they walked through the door, he was like, that's not right. And you could see him outside the glass radioing for help, right? Likewise, the other guy, they went into the office and closed the blinds, but then Teddy pulled out the shotgun from his pants, and you can see that one dude just book it. He's like, nope, and he ran away as fast as he could. They knew what was happening, but they were so ineffectual. I thought for sure at any point she could have used her staff against him or just thrown herself out of his path and said, he's my abductor, kill him or whatever,
right.
No.
Yes.
And so maybe those were clues. But really, up until the last minute, when she got up and got out of the ambulance, that's when Kelly Ray said, oh, she's an alien, definitively. And I was like, why? And she's like, because she just got up. And I realized Donnie had hit her on the back of the head awfully hard, and she bounced back. He had shocked her nearly to death, and she had bounced back, hammered her knee, which was all squishy or whatever, and she was walking on it. Maybe those should have been clues.
Because biologically, she wasn't a human? Is that what all of those photos of what looked like alien autopsies seem to suggest, that biologically inside they were actually different?
I suppose so, in such a way that Teddy could determine how many of them were Theodosians. What was it? Andromedans. And he said 2 of them.
It's like the most sci-fi space namey ever.
But he knew that. There were 2 that were definitely aliens, which is kind of a bummer. But also, that's another indication that I was like, I'm going to be so furious if he rides his stupid bike back from killing his mom and she's still there in the basement. What are you doing? Just leave. Flee into the woods. But nope, she was hanging out.
Well, that's what I said, but then we saw when he came back in that he had to come through the metal screen door. Like, she couldn't actually leave the basement. Because I was like, get out. She was looking at the photos, and she was looking at his research and his renderings of the spaceship, and I was like, get out! And she couldn't. And then so she pivoted to the, like, having virtuous rage.
As opposed to furious jumping.
Furious jumping.
This movie was virtuous rage. Poor Things was furious jumping, which is really my only point of comparison for a Yorgos Lanthimos movie. I felt that movie was wildly unstructured, totally random, and kind of unpleasant throughout. I thought the acting choices were bizarre. It just went for it, and Yorgos Lanthimos is going to do whatever he wants. But that movie it seemed like, and then she's going to do this thing, and it's going to set off this course of events, and it felt random, and this didn't. The fact that we were in this conundrum the whole time, waffling in our choices, assessing our judgments, was fascinating in a pretty contained, almost a stage play kind of thing, where we're questioning our own ability and how we perceive these events. And I was looking for clues the whole time, which kind of kept me riveted, which is astounding for a Yorgos Lanthimos movie for me.
Because it was a thriller.
Let me give you an example. Why would Teddy, in his elaborate research and constructed plan, bring Donnie along for the ride? The character Donnie was a walking liability and a real threat to his operation.
It was need masked by love, and maybe there was some real genuine love there, but he needed an accomplice, and unfortunately, Don was just kind of the impressionable type who was also motivated by love, that he would go along to a certain extent with his cousin.
Yeah, I was like, what's going to happen now that the two dummies are dead? Because, Donnie was a dummy, and it wasn't like his mental condition wasn't clearly stated. He just was obviously the less intelligent of the two, even if Teddy if he was wrong, was simply misdirected. But Stavros Halkios, the cop.
Yeah, the Casey the cop.
In no world is that soft pasty dude a police officer. Like, in the real world, that person could not be a cop.
Why not?
Because you have to pass.
Cops like coconut cake.
He was completely out of shape. He was an idiot. He was not at all observant. And it didn't make sense that he came to the house and he was also Teddy's molester. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Casey said, well, the cell phone tower, it pinged her phone and that she's in this area, and the speed trap camera caught her. So Casey is the only cop and the cop that they're sending to investigate the potential kidnapping of the CEO. Was she lying when she said the FBI in a joint operation are assisting local authorities in tracking down me, a high-profile female CEO? It was just Casey, who never would have passed a physical as a cop, who never would have...
He was just canvassing. It's not like he was on a special assignment deployed to investigate this suspect. Casey was just casing the joint.
Casey casing.
And not doing a particularly great job. And when you see that there's chairs that are bolted through the floor, like maybe you investigate the basement like Zodiac style, but he was no more ineffectual than kind of the majority of the tertiary characters in this film.
And I attributed that perceived failure to Yorgos Lanthimos' take on authenticity, on reality. Practically, Casey, could not be not only a cop, but the cop to investigate that house, where Teddy is apparently known to be an agitator, or at least, Casey knows they're not friends or anything. It was just from the very beginning that cop rang false.
He was more motivated by his guilt and his remorse than anything else. He just was looking for excuses to get near Teddy to apologize and somehow absolve himself from the horrible things that he did when Teddy was a kid.
It seemed like a cheat to have that character be a cop, and thus it seemed like a cheat that Michelle was an alien. To do that would be to invalidate our perceptions, our alignments from basically the beginning of the movie. You don't feel that going the alien route was not only purely Yorgos Lanthimos, but also a little bit of a cheat, that invalidated all her common sense arguments to be what Teddy said, just, she's going to manipulate us in any way she can. She's going to use the sexual angle, so we have to be ready for that. To substantiate everything Teddy was saying, with the possible exception of the idea that she was actively killing the bees, isn't that kind of a cheat?
Whether this movie was reverse engineered or the writers wrote themselves into a corner, there was no other way for this film to resolve itself. She had to be an alien, which makes me think that the primary creative force, the primary theme of this film is calling into question our prejudices. The movie assumes, rightly, that we are going to think that Teddy is completely off of his rocker. Total quack conspiracy theorist, he's desperate to save his mom. He'll believe almost anything to make that possible. And we know or have heard of these types of people who are just crazy. But maybe, are they telling us that maybe the conspiracy theorists, the people who, these outliers, are, have something to say? They went to great lengths to also make Teddy sympathetic. He's crazy, but you see that he's got a troubled past. You see how desperate he is to save his mom. I mean, don't you feel for him a little bit when he's in the suit and he made them a gourmet dinner of spaghetti and meatballs?
I felt for him when he was so conflicted and hurt, and she was poking the bear, and he was begging her to stop. I was really invested in his character, and I felt bad for him because he's so great. Jesse Plemons was so great. Emma Stone was so great. And I was like, these are heavyweights of young people in their 30s duking it out on screen. It brought to mind Philip Seymour Hoffman and Meryl Streep in Doubt. I was like, man, these two are just legends, and they're going at it. They were so great in this completely different environment. So yes, I felt bad for him, but did they question our prejudices or force us to challenge our own prejudices in a fair way? If you had put a cell phone, your phone, on the table and Teddy said, "Oh, that's cake." And you're like, "It's not cake, dude." And you're like, "Look." And it lights up and you get a text and it buzzes and your stuff. And you're like, "It's obviously not cake." And he's like, "I don't care what you say, it's cake." And at the end, he cuts it with a knife and it's cake. That's not fair. We've demonstrated in her private moments, nothing was going to, when she's singing in her car, nothing was going to give away the fact that she's an alien. The fact that she was an alien, it's unfair for you then to say that Teddy was crazy. Yeah, he's crazy, but he was so nice. Or didn't you feel for him? He wasn't crazy. Everything he said was correct, apparently.
It's fair if my home facade falls away and Mikey Day appears on the revolving stage with a knife and cuts it, because we've put it in context. At what point did they establish that we're playing by different rules?
I did note a moment where I thought, oh, this is going to change perspectives. And maybe some people experienced a flip, because I don't believe we were supposed to be on Teddy and Donnie's side pretty much the whole time. But if you were, and as a viewer, if you did think, oh, maybe Michelle is an alien, I'm starting to think she is. Does the smack reframe the argument for you? If you're kind of sympathetic to him, and then he smacks her in the face super hard in a Will Smith kind of way, would that change the loyalties for someone who's not convinced?
Do we feel more sympathetic for her when it's revealed that she's an alien? And I look back, I don't necessarily feel more sympathetic for her character, but I don't have problems with Michelle, because as an alien undercover on planet Earth, she was doing her job. She was doing exactly what she needed to do to try and convince Teddy that she was human. And in the event that she could use it to her advantage, to use the reverse psychology of convincing him that she was an alien, which now that we have the perspective, you can see was probably a lot easier than we think for her to kind of grip him in her thrall after she conspires to have him, commit matricide. She can do it effectively because she is an alien. So maybe the point is that I'm prejudiced against extraterrestrials?
Man, okay. That's definitely a proke. There were a couple of clues now in retrospect. Green Day is excellent torture music. They got that right.
Wow. What about the bees?
The bees. What about it?
This is Bugonia, as you insist on calling it, not to be confused with begonia. The flower. I thought it was the flower, but no, it's about some myth about bees and how they're born from oxen carcasses or something like that. From my cursory Google research, I'm now a bee conspiracy theorist. But the bees are supposed to be important. Is it just because the aliens mega corporation is killing the bees and that's symbolic of killing planet Earth?
No, it was the Atlantis humans or whatever that she was talking about, made in the collusion's own images. What is it? Andromedans' own images. They were supposed to be peaceful. They were supposed to be the going about their work with no delusions of grandeur or morality or selfishness or righteousness. They were just, the worker bees are the most admirable creation. And she said, on that we agree. That's what the humans were supposed to be, just nice and lovely and pluribus, but they weren't. They were killing and destroying the planet and the resources is what the point of the bees was.
So it was like the hive gone wrong?
Kind of. And then you just pop the bubble and you reset everything.
But that's not more humane. I mean, maybe that's more Andromedan or
it's
whatever.
Great. It's great. It's just like Lockjaw. But they did it exactly how they wanted to do it, just as perceived by the aliens that was wrong. So just a full reset. They didn't even know they were dead. Those two people died in the middle of boning. There were, like, people were still in their office chairs around the conference table. They were just dead. It was immediate and it was fine.
That was fine? This ending was fine for you?
No one has to suffer watching their loved ones die. No one has worry or fear or pain. It's just bam. They're all dead all at once. A perfect scenario.
AKA there's absolutely nothing redeemable about humanity. There's no beauty in the chaos.
If we gotta go, maybe that's how we should go.
I guess I just rail against death too much to find there to be any scenario which is suitable.
You got kids. You know what was one of the most telling things to me that she was an alien?
Sanpaku eyes.
No. Did she? I didn't notice.
For sure.
That's funny. Michelle shops for ice cream wrong. She's in the grocery store and she bought the ice cream first, and then they show her buying other items. Anyone who's been in a human, a rational human for any amount of time, gets all your stuff and then goes and gets the ice cream.
I bet she also sends text messages with her keyboard sound effect on.
Oh, that's just insanity. It was fine. It's my favorite Yorgos Lantimos film. It was saying something. It kept me on my toes. It had me questioning myself. I enjoyed watching it. I wondered if it wasn't a twist, but that's only because I'm human. And when it was decidedly a not human story, I was like, and I was a little bit taken out of it. But I don't think Yorgos Lantimos is human. When the Men in Black reckoning comes and we determine who's human and who's not, there's no way that dude is in our category. But
this is just a little bit of like cheeky foreshadowing.
Maybe.
Of the great reveal when we find out that Yorgos Lanthimos is not from Greece.
Yeah.
And that's our discussion on Bugonia from 2025. Available on Peacock, and another addition to award season here at Or Whatever Movies, or orwhatevermovies.com, or wherever you get podcasts. We hope you enjoyed this. If you did, let us know, 818-835-0473, or whatevermovies@gmail.com. Wes's favorite Yorgos Lanthimos movie. I think that means something, Wes.
It invited discussion, and it was all over the place, but in a way that I was doing my best to track it. Even Kelly Ray was in line with my thinking. She compared it to Marty Supreme, and her being an alien was just like Kevin O'Leary being the vampire.
And thanks for listening.
Welcome to another season of Crypto with Kamal on Electricast. Where we explore the future of money and how digital assets are reshaping our world. I'm your host, Kamal Hubbard, Web3 is not just a buzzword. It's a movement that empowers you, your family, and community. So if you're passionate about financial technology or just want to stay ahead of the curve, make sure to tune in and subscribe to Crypto with Kamal wherever you find your favorite podcast.
Ever thought about starting your own podcast?
Do you have a business or a message you want to share with the world?
Well, now it's easier than ever with Electricast. Hi, I'm Mark Netter.
And I'm Peter Rafelson. We're the founders of Electricast Media.
Whether you want to start a new podcast or already have one, join Electricast to grow your audience, monetize your content, and build your community.
With our simple sign-up, you get free promotion, world-class analytics, premium ads, and personal support.
Go to Electricast.com and join our community today.
Electricast. Transform your influence.
Electricast.